Welcome to the Life in High Gear podcast. I am Kristin, your coach and your host, and I'm here to help you. This is episode number 36, and as we get started, I'm inviting you to take a deep breath out. Just let go of anything that you've been holding on to because you're about to take in some really serious magic. We're talking about a controversial issue today, a controversial topic that if you accept this can absolutely change your life. But most of you hearing this might feel a little bit of friction around it. So just knowing that, I'd like you to take another deep breath, knowing that I'm only here to help you and here to serve. Before we launch into the topic, we have built a beautiful and big community around the Life in High Gear concept, the concept of taking responsibility for yourself. This podcast has tons of listeners all over the world, and I'm so grateful to all of you. I'm also grateful because you're changing your lives and taking responsibility for your life. And by doing that, you're affecting so many other people. So I'd like for this podcast to be found easily. To be able to do that, if you're listening in Apple Podcasts, go ahead and give us a great review, a 5-star review, and feel free to review it, like actually say what you think about it. You can also support this podcast by going to Patreon it's patreon.com/lifeinhighgear. Give us a monthly small little, like you're buying a coffee once a month if you listen to the podcast. That will help support the podcast and keep it going. You can also head over to Instagram. The Instagram account is Life in High Gear, and I give lots of little life hacks pretty regularly, and that's a great place to also communicate with me. We have coaching that's available for you, and I'm here for you. People send me messages literally every day, all day, and why should you not? So go ahead and do that. We have coaching available for you. You can do an intro call with me, and you can just head into the show notes for this episode and access me there. So if you're not the problem, there is no solution. So just take that in for a moment. Chances are, hearing me say that, you've bristled a little bit, but here's the deal. So many of you and so many of my future clients as well, who I have not even met yet, will come to me with some really serious family or personal problem. And it's very serious. It can be a low level of seriousness too, but it goes on over time. It's relentless. It's a persistent family or personal problem. And these family and personal problems can bleed into our work, and they can even be personal problems that land at work. So maybe it's a problem with a coworker, which is a personal issue, but it manifests in the workplace, or it just manifests in your life. Many of my clients don't even delineate between their work and their family life. They just have these so-called problems. And I totally get that. But the thing is, how are you going to put these problems to bed once and for all? And you know, I've got your back. I pass out tools every single time we do these episodes. I give you these golden tools that if you use them, they will 100% work. But the thing is, if you're looking for a solution, the solution is inside you. That's why I work as a coach. You don't need to go to the echo chamber of a therapist or a clinician always, unless you're going to dive down into past trauma and deep-seated things. Clinicians are great, and I refer my clients to clinicians regularly. But if you're going to resolve a problem, especially what we're talking about today, which is a persistent, relentless overtime problem, and you're not the problem in the situation, you're not the problem itself, then there really isn't a solution. So let me tell you what I mean. First, before we go into how to resolve this, I'd like you to say this to yourself. This is from the book, The Language of Letting Go, which is a book by Melody Beattie. And this is a affirmation for you. If you're anything like the rest of us, you've got these problems and maybe one big one that's standing out to you right now. And just breathe as you listen to this. Today, I will accept the potent emotions I may feel toward members of my family or people who live in my house, and I'll be grateful for the lessons they're teaching me. I'm hesitating because there's more, and I'm laughing because the next line reads, I accept the golden light of healing that's shining on all of us. It's just a little too, I have a fellow coach who calls this woo-woo language. It's just a little, like for me, that's a little too out there. It's not in my own voice, but I like the part about healing. The golden light of healing, I bristle at a little bit, but I'd like you to say this first part. Today, I will accept the potent emotions I may feel toward members of my family or people who live in my house. I'm ad-libbing there. And I'll be grateful for the lessons they're teaching me. So, a third time, slowly. Today, I will accept the potent emotions I may feel toward people in my life who I love. And I'll be grateful for the lessons they're teaching me. So let's go with that. So this life hack, this tool that I'm teaching you today requires a lot of concentration for anyone who hears this. It's one of the most difficult things that I teach. And people can immediately feel defensive. So if I'm not the problem, then there's no solution. And you might be thinking, this can't be right. I'm not the problem. That person is the problem. They're saying this, they're doing that. They always come at me with this or that. They're a jerk, whatever it is. But you have all of the solutions inside of you. You have the power to change the relationship. So when the relationship is between two people or one person and an entity, let's say it's a workplace or an institution, then when the one person changes, everything changes. So if you're in relationship with somebody and it's persistently annoying or a very grave and serious problem, you can change that by changing yourself. See, you have a powerful influence. You do. And what you bring to the table in every relationship has a lot of weight. You have a lot more power than you realize. So if something's taking place in your life right now and you know it's not going well, I want you to ask yourself, what can I do about it? What can I do about it? And you can write that down if you're using your notebook, which a lot of you do. What can I do about it? So just write down a couple of different things. And if you want to stop the podcast, you can. But I'd like you to move on into solution, which is what role could you play to make things better? Because until you realize that if you think you're not part of the problem, until you realize you're even a small part of this so-called problem in your life, there can't be a solution. So this is the kind of thing that takes the matter of personal responsibility, which is what I invite you to take, the matter of personal responsibility, and it turns it around so that you can look it right in the face. I use this, I'm just going to tell you how I've used this in my own life and how I've seen clients use this. I've used this in my own life. I have relationships myself that have friction in them. And what I've done is I've taken responsibility for the parts that I can do something about, that I'm responsible for. So for example, if you're in a relationship and the two of you regularly fight, let's say, if you stop the fighting and you do what I've taught you in previous episodes, which is to respond versus react, you will then change the entire dynamic of the relationship by responding, not fighting, and changing the way that you interact with that person completely. So that's a big, big, big thing, as you can imagine. That's what I've done in my relationships. And when I see my clients do that, I used the word delineate earlier, and I'd like to use that now as well. When you take responsibility completely for your role in a problem, you are then able to delineate more clearly about what is my responsibility and what is that other person's responsibility. Let me give you an example. You're in a relationship with someone, anyone, and it's frictional at best. It's a problematic relationship, let's just say, okay? Let's say that the other person you're in the relationship with, regardless of the nature of the relationship, family, personal, even a workplace relationship, when you have that other person regularly say to you, remember when you crashed the car, or remember when you got drunk, or remember you ruined that project, or remember you lied to me. When you take responsibility for yourself, you take responsibility for everything that you do. So if you crashed the car, if you told a lie, if you ruined a project, you take responsibility for that. And by taking responsibility for your piece, you then say, I take responsibility for the past, and thereby you have a clean slate. And then you don't go back to the past. And this is probably the piece of this that works the best. When someone comes to you and says, in this frictional relationship of yours, and says something about the past things that you've done, then what you can do is say, I'm doing this now. I'm presenting with honesty. I don't crash cars. I don't ruin projects. I don't lie. I'm just giving an example. And I'm taking responsibility for everything I've done in the past, and I'm coming to you with a clean slate. You can then interact differently, calmly, very calmly. And it can even be fun and pleasant, but you can change that relationship. So the truth is, you can ask yourself a series of problems. So I'd like to ask you this set of questions right now, and for you to consider. What role do I play in this problem? Be honest. What role do I play in this problem? How am I participating in this particular situation? What have I done or said to make this situation better or worse? What can I do to make things a little easier, a little more pleasant? What can I do? So where's your agency? Where's your aegis over this relationship? So personal responsibility now falls completely on you when you ask these questions. What role do I play in the problem? How am I participating in this particular situation? What have I said or done to make it better or worse? What can I do to make it better? So perhaps you're in a relationship where you've done everything in your power to make things right, and you're still not happy with the way it is. So I'm going to say again, you're still at least part of the problem because you're participating in that relationship. So I told you it's a really, really difficult thing that I teach, but bear with me. Your attitude, your words, your behavior are completely yours. They're all under your control, 100%. So it's really normal to try to work on other people, to control others. But I've taught you, you don't control people, places, things. You don't. You control you. You're in charge of you. So you can't manipulate things like a set of, puppets, and you can't play marionette to make people do what it is you want. But you can see now that the only person you have control over is you. And you can, listen to this piece, completely refuse to live your life based on the decisions of other people and circumstances. So outside circumstances, things that other people do. You can say, I refuse. I will only participate in things that I feel good about and I have control over, and you have control over so much. So it immediately helps you when you realize you can make any situation better by refusing to live life on other people's terms. So let's say someone in your life makes a terrible mistake, like tells you a lie, something like that. You can say, how am I the problem? Let's say somebody lies to you. How am I the problem? Did you know in your gut? A lot of times when we do this podcast, I ask you to put your hand over your belly. So do that now. That's a great space of awareness. There's so much intelligence in your body. Did you know that the person was lying to you? Did you feel it in your gut and you just ignored it? And, you might be thinking, well, that's crazy. How can I know if somebody's lying to me? How can I know if there's something wrong? But I encourage you to open up to the intelligence that you have in you. You know something's off. You might not know it's a lie, but you know something's off. So you don't take responsibility for the other person's behavior and their lie. You take responsibility for you. I had somebody say to me in a session today, a private coaching session, she said she got a wonderful opportunity, but she knows that there's something off with it. She knows. Now, is someone lying to her? Is there some secret about it? Some part of it that she's not aware of? Maybe. But she knows. And I asked her to really lean into this, like get out of the black and white. Yes, I want that new situation. No, I don't. Get out of the black and white and lean into the gray, where all the knowing and the consciousness and the creativity and all the good stuff, all the magic happens. And when she leaned into that gray area, she realized something's off. Something's off. So she took responsibility for herself. So it's no longer about the other situation, the other person. You just know something's off, and you can say, and I'm encouraging you to begin this, exercising this concept, exercising this tool I'm giving you, which is, if I'm not the problem, there is no solution. You can find solutions by seeing where your part is in it. And if your part is as small as something's off, I don't know what it is, it's enough to say that. It's enough. You don't even have to say it to the other person or the other entity or the project or the workplace or whatever it is, or the family member. You can remove yourself, and you can decide how best to remove yourself. So I encourage you to look at yourself, look within, see yourself in every situation as potentially the problem, as potentially contributing to something. And thereby, you're no longer a victim. You have a victorious state of mind. You have a resilient, elastic, very steady state of mind, because you're able to see your part in everything. So take your hand, whichever one, place it on your belly, and let's go for this affirmation. Today, I accept the potent emotions I may feel toward the people in my life. And I'm grateful for the lessons they're teaching me. And I encourage you to see your part in every situation, because this concept, while difficult, it will absolutely change your life. Once you practice this, you can start practicing it today. If I'm not the problem, there is no solution. So, the hand on your belly, on your next breath, feel your belly rise. and let the air come out. And do that slowly, and notice the pause. Notice the steadiness. Notice the pause and the space between each word I'm speaking. And there's space inside you as well. There's vast intelligence inside you. And there is a knowing. And when you can know and open yourself up, and I encourage you to understand that you do play a role in every situation in your life. When you can lean into that space that's between the words you hear, into the space between each thought, and lean into the space between the black, between the white, in the gray area, and lean into the space that happens between each breath. You have so much power, so use it. Use it. I welcome hearing from you. I welcome meeting you in these private sessions that are available to you. And I welcome your questions. I welcome your feedback. And I am so happy to be able to share this with you. So thank you. And let me know how this goes for you. If I am not the problem, there is no solution. So until next time, take care of yourself.